Hi, everyone. I wanted to start out by asking if we have any designers in the room. Looks like there's a handful. So I was sort of anticipating that this was going to be a pretty technical crowd and not a lot of designers. So my talk is going to focus on how all of you can work as part of design and promote good design and be engaged in the design process. So, mic closer? Okay. Everyone is a designer, all of you. So good design isn't just about making things look pretty. It's about solving problems. And you all solve problems every day, whether you're a developer, QE, product manager, that's what you do. So you are a designer. First point about good design, it's empathetic. You need to know your audience. Susan talked a lot about this, and it's a fundamental point of good design. Know who you're designing for. What is it they want to do? What's going to delight them? If you understand that, you're well on the road. Listen to other people's ideas. One of the key things that we do here at Salesforce as part of our design process is called a design studio. And what we do there is we take a team of people, typically the Scrum team that's going to work on a feature, and we put them all in a room, invite people from different disciplines, and propose a problem. So talk about a persona, a fictitious user, who wants to do something, and have them all brainstorm the ideas. And we get great ideas from people all across the board, and this process serves a number of purposes. One, we get great ideas, and that helps the designer. Two, we build empathy with the whole team. So when it comes to the point of the designer presenting a proposal of how we could solve this problem, the development and QE team, they've all thought about it. They've thought about how important it is for the user to have this good experience. When we propose something that's a little harder to build, they're a little bit more willing to put in the extra hours to build that harder thing because they understand the value that it's going to give to the end user. And ultimately, it also helps build empathy for the designer. So when you guys come in and do this exercise and try to design something yourself, you see how difficult it is. You see the different edge cases that you have to deal with and how hard it is to solve the problem for everyone. So empathy all around. Another point on empathy, stories sell solutions. This is also really key to how we do things here at Salesforce. Narratives are compelling to people. People don't like to read specs. That's not what's going to convince them that the feature is designed the right way. It's what's going to work for them. What helps people understand that is stories. So we do a lot of explanation of features through narratives, walking people through a use case, and showing step-by-step how a person goes through performing an action that they want to do, and how our design helps them do that better. Good design has a point of view. Again, I think we talked about this one before, but know what problem you're solving. If you can identify the problem, you're going to come up with a much better solution than if you start with a feature. So don't think about, I want to build this thing. Think about, I want to solve this problem, and how can we go about that? Clarify and communicate your goals. Take the time at the beginning of the design process to figure out what it is you want to do, and write down some fundamental principles. I think it's great if a team can come to 3 principles that they agree on before they move into the design phase. They're going to be much happier with the product that they come out with at the end. And finally, keep it simple and make it yours. So I love the design studio. There's a time for brainstorming. But when it comes time to come up with a final solution, you need to have a solid point of view and a fairly singular point of view. So at some point, put your stake in the ground. You can't please everyone, but try to solve for the majority of people, and that's going to make the best experience for most people. Good design is persuasive. So an important part of promoting good design is making sure that your ideas get heard. I want to share a little story about someone from my team who came to me the other day and said, I made these wireframes and I emailed them out to people, and they seem to still be going with this older idea that somebody else proposed, and I don't understand why. I said, do you think people read their email? So it's on you to make sure that your ideas get heard. Don't just sort of throw something out into the void and expect everybody to read it, digest it, and jump on board your train. They're not going to do that. So if you have an idea and you feel it's not getting heard, set a meeting. Don't be afraid to request time from people higher up than you. If all you can get is 15 minutes on their schedule, that's great. They're much more likely to hear what you have to say if you get up in front of them and you talk them through it, then you just drop something in their email box, which they may well avoid. Secondly, show alternatives. Another little anecdote here. I had someone on my team come up to me and say, so I'm working on this feature, and my product manager thinks it should be a certain way, and already has done some sketches, and is just telling me that I need to make this pretty and this is what it should be. But I think they're totally wrong. What do I do? I've just been avoiding this for the last 2 weeks, but I have to do something now. And I said, well, do you have an alternate proposal? Yeah, but my product manager really thinks it should be this way. I said, well, show them both. The more alternatives you show people, you show that you've thought it through. You take the approach that they've presented to you, you present it back to them, show where it breaks down, show your better proposal, maybe show a third proposal. The more alternatives that you give to people, the more they're going to take you seriously and be won over to your point of view. A couple of tricks on that. It's really standard practice in design agency worlds to show 3 alternatives. And there are a couple of fundamental things that you have to remember about people's psychology when you do that. One is that you can present a really conservative idea. You're like, yeah, that's boring. And you can present a really far out idea. People are like, yeah, that's cool, but that's too crazy. We can't really sell that. And then you present them the one that's in the middle, and they think that's perfect, right? So if you know what the perfect idea is, come up with one that's a little more conservative and one that's a little more out there, and present them in that order. People love that. And one other thing is that people, if you have 2 ideas or 3 ideas, people often gravitate towards the last one that you show them. So if you're trying to present a persuasive argument, consider putting your best idea at the end of your presentation. And this last point is sort of something for y'all to think about. I've certainly had experiences as a designer, often working in that position of my product manager wants me to do something and I have a different idea. And it can be a long battle, and finally you get to the end, and you find yourself sitting in a room, and this other person gets up and presents this idea as their own. You go, I think that was my idea. And I just wanted to make the point that, that can be triumphant. You can be really, that someone else, in some ways, someone taking credit for your idea means that you've completely won them over. And often they're not doing it consciously. It just means that they truly believe in it at that point. So, something to think about. All right. I can't believe you guys let me get by this far in a design presentation without showing any pictures. So, there's a cute cat. And I wanted to close with the last point, which is don't forget the pictures. People don't really like to read. And if you can use a simple chart, diagram, or wireframe to convey your idea, people are much more likely to take a look at that and understand what you have to say. Even if you don't consider yourself a creative person or a designer, don't be afraid to get up and whiteboard, sketch something out, make a diagram. Everyone can communicate visually. It doesn't have to be beautiful. So don't forget the pictures. And that's it. Thank you very much.